Hello and welcome to this mini-series of posts devoted to blogging. I've been asked quite a few times what a blog is, how to blog, what the difference is between a blog and a website, and why you might actually want to have a blog at all. In these series of posts, I'm going to answer those questions and more. I want to give you some examples of how blogs can be used, have been used, and how you might like to use them in your own website, as well as give you clear strategies on how you can make it manageable and implement it within your own business website. So let's get started on the first post. So let's begin by talking about blogs and websites, how they work together, and why you should actually bother with a blog at all. First of all, a website, clearly defined, is static and traditional. It's made of a set of pages. It's hierarchical and infrequently updated or changed. It holds key information on the business details. And as such, really, a website is more like an online business card, as we've spoken about before. It doesn't really frequently change, and it stays the same hierarchy that you decide that it's going to be. And by that I mean there's a top set of pages, and then there's some that come underneath that. And there's no reason to update it because it holds key information about the business. That information may not change very frequently, so it's a bit boring, to be honest. A blog, on the other hand, is dynamic like a newsreel, and by that I mean it will be updated and changed along with new updates and new news. It is regularly updated. How regularly is completely up to you. It could just be ad hoc whenever there is news, or it could be on a regular basis if you want to make it into a newsletter or something like that. Posts appear in reverse chronological order with the most recent at the top, in the same way that a newsreel would be. It needn't be called a blog. It can be called anything that you actually want to call it. So you could call it news, you could call it updates, you could call it information, anything like that. And can be placed on the homepage or news page of a website. So if you have ever seen and I will show you some examples of this, if you've ever seen a blog site, then the blog part is on the homepage of the website. And if you want to see any other pages, then you would go on the other pages. However, what you can do is have a website where the homepage is completely different, where it's key information on the company or organisation or whatever, but the blog is held within a separate page. For example, just a page that's called blog, or a news page or whatever. So a blog sits inside one page of a website. It can be the sole purpose of a site or used as a complement to a site. So with the examples we talked about before, if you have a blog site, then it is really the core reason to have the site. If you have, instead of that, a news page or a blog page, then that makes it a complement to the site as a whole. So why blog? It's an excuse for using your keywords. If, for example, you are a dog groomer and you know that people will be searching for dog grooming services in order to find you, you are more likely to be ranked well if you have lots of keywords on your website related to dog grooming. If you have a blog where you're regularly talking about dog grooming products, then you have more opportunities to mention these keywords and then be found for those key terms. So that logically that's why it makes sense. It gives you repeat visits and provides a reason for people to come back and remember you. If you've just got a static website, once people have got your contact details and understand a bit about your business, there's no reason to return. If, however, you have updated articles that may be relevant to them, there's a reason to come back or even to subscribe to a newsletter, which is very easy to just add on with a blog. It builds trust and familiarity with your brand. If somebody just encounters your company once and then that's it, and they don't come across you before they have the problem that you're there to solve, or they require your services, then they might not remember you when they do actually need you, or they may not have used that time period to build trust. However, if they're returning to you and learning about subjects through you, then they build trust and familiarity with your brand. And that makes it a lot easier when they do come to buy from you. You've sort of broken down some of the barriers. Newsworthy. It creates inbound links and social media updates. This means that you have unique content that you can add on social media, and people would feel happy to share that information, and they would feel comfortable. Remember, with social media, they're not just going to share things with their community that they're embarrassed about, or they don't think that their friends are going to find interesting. They have to feel that they can share your site and be proud to be sharing it. So consider that. They're not going to share everything. It's current. It keeps your website as a whole looking up to date. If your website, for example, has not been changed since 2008 because your company hasn't really changed, then it may make people think that maybe you're not really around anymore, or that you're not really as involved with things as you were. So if you've got a blog, it very much says, I'm still very active with this, I care about it, I'm doing things all the time, I'm participating, and you can trust that my knowledge on this is current. It creates an understanding and conversation. So if you have a complex subject that you actually deal with in your service, then you can actually break down the barriers of understanding that people might have. They might not actually know how much depth there is to what you do, but also you get to involve people in a two-way conversation, which creates a research opportunity for you to learn what people's concerns actually are, and potentially even create a product around that. Google also likes frequently updated websites. Now, I say this, you've got to obviously take it with a pinch of salt, because no one knows exactly what Google likes. If everybody knew what Google liked, then everybody would do it, and then they'd have to think of something else. But evidence has indicated that they like frequently, or the algorithms like websites to be frequently updated, because it demonstrates that they are providing valuable content to their audience. So it also illustrates your knowledge on a subject, making you the go-to person in your field. If, for example, you had two people each with a website, if both of those people knew exactly the same amount on a subject, but one of them had a blog demonstrating how much they knew, then you trust that the person with a blog knew more just because they had demonstrated it. It doesn't mean that they know any more, but they've used that opportunity to actually show off what they know. Now, all of this might feel a bit overwhelming to face doing a blog, but there are strategies to make it easy, and it's something that I'll show you some real examples, and also give you some tools to teach you how to blog and talk about how you might start it. The reason why I talk about a blog being essential is because once you do have a blog, once you just spend that hour or two a week developing original content, it feeds into many other areas that are important to make your website successful. For example, if you do have a blog, then you can easily make it into a newsletter if it's regular enough. Well, even if it's not regular, you can still do it, but it could confuse your followers. It allows you to do SEO. As I've discussed before, if you have more opportunities to mention a keyword, then that's better. If you're updating more regularly, that's better as well. If people link into your website, then that's better for search engine optimization. So you are more likely as a website to rank better by having that original content there. Social media, again, it gives you original content to share on social media. So it's something to actually interact with, although there is a lot more to social media than that, but it's nice to have something, a reason to say to people, come back to the site and have a look at this. It proves expertise, like I said. It actually demonstrates what you know and makes people more likely to trust you, and it's a platform for open two-way communication, which is brilliant for small businesses that may not have an opportunity to spend big money and go and do big polls or anything like that. So action time. Although this isn't the end of the series of posts on blogging, you can still do something to start the ball rolling and think really if a blog would be right for you. So ask your current contacts or clients what they would like to know. If, for example, you have frequently asked questions that you can go into further details on, then that could develop a range of ideas for what could be included in the blog. So list them all down, keep them somewhere as ideas for blog posts that you might want to come back to. Consider the best method of delivery for your audience. Are your audience on social media? Would they appreciate a newsletter? Are they likely to come back to a blog? Or do they not spend any time online at all? It could be that a blog would not be relevant for you. But you've got to think about who your target market are and whether they'd be interested in any or all of these delivery methods for getting this information. So that's it for this week. I'll see you next time when we'll be covering how to blog and give you some real examples of some other blogs and how they can work, as well as some strategies for how to actually put a blog into action on your website. Until then, I hope you have a great week.